In Hollywood, every star needs protection. Not real protection, of course. God forbid, we mean image protection. Introducing the Hollywood Float Plan, the premium crisis management package for celebrities, studios, and rich people with a very inconvenient night on the water. Got broken glass? No problem. Got screaming witnesses? We can blur that out. Got a timeline that makes absolutely no damn sense? Our experts will stretch it, fold it, and dress it up in a tuxedo till it looks like a tragic accident. With the Hollywood Float Plan, you get immediate narrative control. Before the body's even cold, we've already got 3 friendly quotes, 2 soft focus headlines, and 1 polished public statement about deep sorrow. Witness reduction technology. Not reduction like that. Relax. We just make everybody sound confused, emotional, unreliable, or drunk. Real classy stuff. Studio-grade reputation shielding. Why investigate when you can protect the brand? If there's a movie in production, a television career on the line, or a beloved leading man involved, we go to work like greased lightning. Luxury blame transfer. Bruises, tragic confusion. Delays, miscommunication. Questions, conspiracy theories. Dead woman? Sad, unfortunate, very complicated. And for a limited time, upgrade to the Gilded Silence Platinum package, featuring a friendly press corps, selective memory, missing urgency, and that old-fashioned Hollywood magic where powerful men walk away clean while everybody else gets buried under the credits. So remember, when the night goes wrong, don't reach for the truth. Reach for the Hollywood Float Plan. Because in this town, image floats. Even when justice sinks. The Hollywood Float Plan. Turning scandal into sympathy since the Golden Age.
Mr. Shelby, I'm pleased that you decided to come to me to supply the great city of Birmingham with opium. Well, in this case, I must say no to you, Mr. Shelby. You see, I understand that in small aid you have professional involvement in office hours. But this is very unfortunate for you, since office hours has tricked me many times in the past. And to be tricked again will be horrible for me. For which you will be held responsible, you understand that?
But what if someone else handled it?
Like his fucking brother Arthur.
A TV icon says on camera that maybe a woman deserves to be hit. A movie goddess ends up in a hospital with a broken collarbone after a lover's drunken violence. A singer celebrated as America's dream father is later described by his own son as the man who beat him until he bled. And in a forgotten bank vault, a nearly century-old divorce filing resurfaces packed with accusations too ugly for the legend built around the man at its center. This is what survives when the publicity machine dies, fragments, bruises, court language, and the private fear left behind. Sean Connery. For millions of viewers, he was the ultimate masculine ideal, elegant, commanding, untouchable. That image is exactly what makes his record so jarring. In a 1965 Playboy interview, Connery said he did not think there was anything particularly wrong with hitting a woman, adding that an open-handed slap could be justified after plenty of warning. More disturbing is what happened next. When Barbara Walters asked him about that statement on television in 1987, he did not retreat. He said he had not changed his opinion. Decades later, GQ still noted how that quote shadowed his legacy. The private side grew darker in 2006 when his first wife, actress Diane Cilento, published My 9 Lives and described what she called mental and physical abuse during their marriage. Only after that memoir appeared did Connery publicly say he did not believe abuse against women was justified. By then, the contradiction was permanent, the suave screen legend and the man who had defended the slap for years in public view. Peter Sellers. He built his fame on chaos that looked harmless. Inspector Clouseau stumbled through disasters and left audiences laughing. But Britt Ekland's memoir, True Brit, and her later interviews describe a marriage ruled by jealousy, surveillance, and sudden eruptions of rage. She has spoken about how controlling he was, how quickly tenderness could turn into humiliation, and how isolated life with him became. Their marriage lasted only from 1964 to 1968, but the damage outlived it. Sellers' son, Michael, later described a childhood spent navigating his father's moods, never sure which version of him would enter the room. What the public often romanticized as genius torment or comic eccentricity looked very different inside the house. In that private version, unpredictability was not charming. It was the atmosphere everyone else had to survive. George C. Scott. He cultivated the image of a hard, unbending man, the kind of actor who seemed too severe to care whether Hollywood approved of him or not. But in Ava My Story, Ava Gardner described her relationship with Scott as one of the most frightening periods of her life. She wrote that when he drank, he could go berserk, and she described one terrifying incident in which he smashed a bottle, held the jagged glass to her face, and struck her. Contemporary coverage of the memoir highlighted Gardner's account of a violent relationship, and later biographies of her life, including Lee Server's work, describe her being hospitalized with a broken collarbone during that period. What makes the story hit even harder is the contrast. Scott's reputation was built on discipline, seriousness, and moral force. Gardner's account shows something else entirely: alcohol, intimidation, and physical danger, so severe, she later wrote that Frank Sinatra had to be talked out of retaliating. The gap between his public authority and her private fear is enormous. It is one of those memoir passages that permanently alters the photograph beside. Rex Harrison. He carried himself like civilization in a tailored suit. After My Fair Lady, he was remembered as wit polish and upper-class control. But off-screen he had another reputation, Rex the Hex, a nickname that followed him through the industry. His affair with Carol Landis became inseparable from the scandal around her 1,948 death by suicide. The exact extent of Harrison's responsibility has never been conclusively established, and it has to be framed that way. But contemporary and later accounts kept returning to his coldness in those final hours, which is why the story never left him. Then came actress Rachel Roberts, who married Harrison in 1962 and divorced him in 1971. Roberts' journals, later published as No Bells on Sunday, present a marriage corroded by contempt, emotional cruelty, and neglect. By the time she died in 1980, after years of alcoholism and instability, the image of Harrison as merely sophisticated looked less like truth and more like camouflage. Jerry Lewis. He spent decades performing compassion in public. During the muscular dystrophy telethons, he cried on live television, pleaded with viewers, and became almost saintly in the American imagination. But his home life produced a radically different testimony. When his marriage to Patty Palmer collapsed in 1980, the public saw scandal. Later, family accounts painted a household shaped by fear, rigid domination, and punishment. His son, Gary Lewis, spoke bitterly for years about his father, later calling him mean and evil, and saying he had shown his children no real love or care. A later Vanity Fair investigation also gathered accusations from women who described humiliation, harassment, and abuse of power around Lewis. None of that erases his talent or his charity work. It does something more unsettling. It forces those televised tears into a harsher light. The man praised as a patron saint to suffering children left behind a family history that sounded nothing like mercy. The split between image and household record is almost impossible to miss. Richard Burton. His voice could make almost anything sound noble, which may be one reason the violence around his marriage to Elizabeth Taylor was so often wrapped in glamorous language. The press called them tempestuous, volcanic, passionate. Furious love, drawing on letters, diaries, and the memories of people around them, describes something much uglier: alcohol-fueled fights, smashed rooms, jealousy, and a relationship repeatedly pushed toward physical and emotional chaos. Vanity Fair's account of the same history notes that what began as theatrical combat grew more brutal over time, as drinking intensified. Burton was not hiding his alcoholism from the world, it was practically part of the myth. But myth has a way of laundering reality. Diamonds, yachts, and famous love letters made the relationship look grand from a distance. Up-close biographies of the couple show a marriage in which drinking did not just accompany the conflict. It fed it, enlarged it, and helped repackage harm as romance. Hollywood preferred the poetry of excess to the plain language of harm. Desi Arnaz. He became one of television's first great husband figures, funny, charming, loyal, the man forever, trying to get back into Lucy Ricardo's good graces. But the marriage behind I Love Lucy was strained for years by heavy drinking, serial infidelity, and explosive behavior that biographies and family accounts have continued to document. Lucille Ball had tried to leave him before, and when she finally filed for divorce in 1960, the legal grounds were widely reported as mental cruelty. Even recent retellings of their relationship still center Arnaz's alcoholism and cheating as major causes of the breakup. What protected his image for so long was not just personal charisma, it was business. Ball and Arnaz were not merely stars. They were co-owners of Desilu, one of the most powerful television companies in America. Too many livelihoods depended on the dream of the perfect couple. That made the private damage easier to soften, euphemize, and sell as one more sad love story instead of what Ball was escaping. Errol Flynn. He helped invent the swashbuckling ideal laughing danger in the face, rescuing women moving through the screen like recklessness made beautiful. His real life was reckless too, but far less romantic. By 1935, he had married actress Lili Damita, and later accounts of the marriage, along with Flynn's own memoir, present a union defined by volatility, infidelity, and heavy drinking. Vanity Fair's reassessment of Flynn's legend still describes Damita as tempestuous and the relationship as part of the chaotic storm surrounding his rise. Warner Brothers had every reason to keep that storm marketable. Flynn was one of the studio's great box office assets, and scandal management was part of the machinery. That is why the phrase "in like Flynn" could drift into popular culture almost as a joke, a wink at excess. Instead of a warning about the household instability that follows a man whose appetites are constantly being turned into charm, the heroism was real on screen. The danger was real at home. Bing Crosby. His image was almost impossible to compete with. He sang White Christmas, embodied ease, and collected fatherly honors while sounding like comfort itself. Then, in 1983, his eldest son, Gary Crosby, published Going My Own Way and described a childhood of beatings, humiliation, and dread. The most notorious detail was the belt studded with metal that Gary said left him bleeding. A Washington Post review of the memoir repeated those allegations, and later family coverage noted that brother Lindsay broadly supported Gary's version while Philip rejected it. What nobody disputes is that the family was deeply damaged. Dennis and Lindsay later died by suicide. Even an old-time profile had already described Bing's punishing discipline and his frustration that fear was not producing obedience. That is what makes the public honors feel so eerie in retrospect. While the culture celebrated him as the warmest father in America, the children inside his house were learning that affection could vanish. The second discipline began. The crooner's voice survived the memoir. The innocence of the image did not. Oliver Reed. He was marketed less as a respectable gentleman than as a lovable catastrophe. By the 1970s, British television had turned his drunken volatility into a kind of national sideshow. Producers knew that if Reed appeared live, something might explode, and that risk itself became entertainment. But biographies of Reed, including Evil Spirits, frame the drinking as more than colorful excess. It was the engine of intimidation, broken relationships, and household chaos. His first wife, Kate Byrne, and later partners lived with a man whose public loss of control was being sold back to audiences as rogue charisma. Reed's own legend made accountability harder because he was never pretending to be safe. The danger was part of the brand. That may be the bleakest part of his story. In some celebrity lives, the violence is hidden behind grace. In Reed's, the instability was visible, monetized, and cheered, until a man's collapse became just another anecdote the culture could laugh about. Once the chaos becomes content, the victims disappear from the frame. Cary Grant. He may have been the most polished male star classical Hollywood ever produced. He did not just play sophistication, he seemed to define it. But the testimony around his marriage to Dyan Cannon has long complicated that image. Cannon's memoir and later interviews describe a husband who could be deeply jealous, controlling, and psychologically overwhelming. Vanity Fair's recent reassessment of Grant's life notes that Cannon herself became one of the clearest witnesses to the distance between the public fantasy and the private man. The documentary Becoming Cary Grant also revived attention to his long involvement with LSD therapy, which he embraced as a route to self-discovery. That history matters because Cannon described being drawn into experiences and pressures inside the marriage that she found destabilizing rather than healing. This is one of the more delicate chapters on the list, because it is less about a single tabloid incident than a pattern of coercion, emotional strain, and control described by the woman who lived it. The perfect gentleman was not so simple at home. In Grant's case, elegance did not cancel domination, it disguised it. Charlie Chaplin. He built one of the most beloved figures in film history out of vulnerability, innocence, and wounded dignity. That makes the record left by his second wife, Leda Gray, especially shocking. Gray was 16 when she married the 35-year-old Chaplin in 1924 after becoming pregnant. In 1927, she filed a lengthy divorce complaint, alleging cruel and inhuman treatment, and summaries preserved in the Chaplin archive say she claimed he had pressed her to undergo an illegal operation to prevent the birth of their first child. The case became a national scandal. Chaplin's $16 million estate was frozen, and the settlement ultimately reached $825,000, then reported as a record amount. What gives the story an afterlife now is the paper trail. Accounts published in the 2010s reported that original divorce documents had resurfaced after being found in an abandoned bank nearly 90 years later. That image is almost too perfect, the sealed legal language of old Hollywood opening back up, and inside it a version of Chaplin's life that the little tramp could never soften. The rediscovered filing did not create the scandal. It merely made it tangible again. These are not 12 isolated scandals. They are one recurring arrangement: fame on the outside, fear on the inside, and families forced to live in the shadow of a legend. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for more untold stories.
Some boxes are filled with candy. This one is filled with reputation. Welcome to the Capo's Choice, TM, from Bambi's Sugar Syndicate. 3 handcrafted gourmet fudges. 3 unforgettable personalities. 1 legendary collection. First, Lopez. Rich Mexican dark chocolate. Warm cinnamon. Fresh espresso. Crunchy churro pieces. A whisper of chili that reminds you every great recipe has a little attitude. Then, Nunzio. Creamy cannoli-inspired fudge packed with roasted pistachios, crisp cannoli shells, and chocolate chips. The kind of dessert that makes you wonder why every Italian bakery doesn't stay open 24 hours a day. And finally, Tommy Stiggs. Bold espresso. Dark chocolate. Silky mascarpone. Roasted pistachios. Cannoli shell in every bite. Smooth enough for dessert. Strong enough to keep the conversation going long after the coffee's gone. Every piece is handcrafted. Every batch is made with premium ingredients. No shortcuts. No nonsense. Just old school flavor done right. Whether you're sharing it with family, bringing it to poker night, or hiding the box in the back of the fridge because everyone else already had their chance. We won't judge. Well, maybe a little. Because around here, good fudge disappears faster than free cannolis at an Italian wedding. The Capo's Choice. 3 legends. 3 recipes. 1 box you'll wish you ordered 2 of. Bambi's Sugar Syndicate. 1 bite. Your family.
Smoke in the sky again, so I'm getting high again. Take another hit to the diaphragm. I never drew the diagram, how to deal with this shit, so I still and lie again. Whoa, you're my dream, you're my nightmare. Life is a bitch, she don't fight fair. Leave you right there, I was hoping that you'd notice my despair. Run away from the pain, I don't care. Cause first day in sight, the violence. Turn around and the silence, burn it down, and I think I need some guidance. The kids don't stand a chance. No, the kids don't stand a chance. Old man, trouble back again, fucking up my plans. Like, oh no, I'm back to the black again, getting fucked up again. Oh no, old man, trouble back again. Thought I had the upper hand. Repetitive, sex, rock and roll sedatives, degenerates need medicine, spend money for the hell of it. I don't give a fuck what they selling, like I'm celibate, no. And I know I'm a piece of shit, should've learned by now. Peace needed quick or a piece of it. In school they ain't teaching it, each of us trying to find religion.